On September 1st, 1939, Germany attacked its neighboring country, Poland. This attack would prompt responses from other European countries to fight against Germany and to protect themselves from the tyranny of Adolf Hitler. Great Britain and France declared war on Germany 2 days after the attack on Poland. The Second World War had begun. Germany continued its reign of terror and invaded neighboring countries of Czechoslovakia, Austria, and Belgium. At the beginning of this war, the United States was reluctant on engaging due to its isolationism policy. The policy separated the United States from the affairs of countries, therefore keeping the U.S. away from war for a while longer. However, this didn't save the U.S. from being uninvolved in the war. On December 7, 1941, Japanese forces bombed Pearl Harbor. This opened the gates for the U.S. to join in the war efforts against Germany. The United States joined forces with the Allied powers, consisting of Great Britain, France, the Soviet Union, and China, to defeat the Axis powers of Germany, Italy, and Japan.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
The USS Fanshawe Bay was an 8,000-ton Casablanca-class escort carrier. The ship was designed to carry aircrafts during World War II and fought in 3 battles. During World War II, the ship was part of 3 major campaigns: the Battle of Saipan, the Battle of Perryville, and the Battle of Leyte Gulf.
I went in July of '43. We took a bunch of fighter planes, they call them P-38s, down to Australia. I was a deckhand. My whole time was spent aboard ship. We put her in commission in December of '43, and we were at Astoria, Oregon. And I know that was my first experience of seasickness. That night, about midnight, I woke up and I was feeling kind of funny. We were on our way to Frisco, was where it was, and she was kind of rough, you know. And I said, what's wrong with me? I feel about half sick. And I said, uh-oh, that was seasickness. And oh, I used to get so sick. God, I used to get sick. We'd pull into a harbor and sit there 2 or 3 days and go back out. I'd get sick again. I know I did get homesick for a while when I first went in. I know once the first Sunday I was in boot camp, I kind of cried because I was homesick. And I went to Mass, and the family were all at the Mass here, on Sunday morning, and here I was by myself. Well, I wasn't by myself, I was with a lot of guys too, you know. But it was kind of hard at first. So everything, we had a routine to live by, and we had people to tell us what to do. Well, let's see, we got up and had chow. Then we had to report to quarters, and then from there on we would be assigned various different jobs for the day. We had to keep our life rafts, we had to check those out, make sure that all that stuff was in position, and they were all taken care of. And of course we'd break it for lunch at noon, and back at 1 o'clock, and then from 1 o'clock until 4 or 5, then we would take off, and then from then on was free time, say from 5 o'clock on. But usually, a lot of times too, we'd have gunnery practice. We'd have different things like that we might have to encounter at any time. Well, let's see, our first operation, I'm trying to think, was we run about 4 or 5 different operations, and one of them was of course we were Leyte Gulf. That was the biggest one. Saipan was another one.
During the invasion of Saipan, Fanshawe Bay avoided a torpedo attack, but was attacked by 70 Japanese planes 2 days later. The attack killed 14 men and injured 23 others. The USS Fanshaw Bay was badly damaged and was sent back to Pearl Harbor to mend the damages.
We got there on June the 14th, and the invasion was planned for the 15th. Well, that night, all night long, a battle, I guess, were bombing on the beach. And it sounded like thunder and lightning all night long. The big gun, you know. And we underwent an air attack about dusk. That's when they would like to hit us. This about dusk. There was a torpedo tank on us, and we took a 500-pounder bomb in our hangar deck, which knocked us out completely of the war there, because the hangar deck hit the elevator, and that's how we operated our planes off the flight deck. So we left. But supposedly the next day must have been something else, because I think they call it the Mariana Turkey Shoot. Supposedly they knocked out over 300 Japanese planes the next day. See, Japan they were getting desperate. That's where they made a big mistake. Our pilots, or aces, after they would get so many shot down, they would come back to the United States and train the other pilots. But with Japan, they kept their first-line pilots on line, and of course they lost them all. And that's when they say there were over 300 planes shot down they call it the Mariana Turkey Shoot, and that was on the 15th of June, I think it was.
In the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the USS Fanshawe Bay, along with 3 other escort carriers, arrived in the Leyte Gulf of the Philippines. On October 23, 1944, the largest naval battle in history began. Fanshawe Bay, along with 300 Allied ships and 1,500 planes, defeated the Axis forces and liberated the Philippine Islands.
The liberation of the Philippines will start with the island of Leyte. Seize the beaches, establish a base. 6 simple words on which hangs the destiny of the Western Pacific.
Well, this was when the invasion. They were invading landing in the Philippines, and that was their job, was to cover the landing. And we knew the Japanese Navy would be out anywhere soon, but we didn't know exactly where. You know, well, they finally spotted them. But we were hoping that Admiral Halsey, the big admiral at our time, would be with the big battle wagon, see? Well, what they had done, they lured him north, and he was completely out of the picture altogether. So we had to favor our own skin. And that's what happened to these guys here. They tried to protect us as well as they could, and of course we lost them all. But we were able to come through and turn the Japanese back. Our ship received the presidential citation 2 different times. I mean, which is nothing ordinary. I mean, just that we did do our job. See, we carried, what our planes were doing, we carried what we call spotter planes. They would direct the fire toward the battle wagons. They kept in contact with the battle wagons and tell them, where their shells were hitting. I don't know how to explain it, Of course, I was a kid, we look at things different now than I did then. A lot different, I guess when Ledford got killed, there were 3 of us. We could see them firing at us. They were about 10 miles out from us. And see, we were on anti-aircraft guns, and our battle station more or less was at the guns, but not for no reason, because they were attacking with the big surface ships. So as a shell hit the water and exploded, and came through the gun tub next to us, so every guy on that gun tub got the Purple Heart. It just scattered shrapnel everywhere. Well, Leopard and Kurtz and I, we were down watching him, and Leopard was in between us, and he got killed. Piece of shrapnel from that gun tub next to us. And when that shell hit that gun tub, it shredded shrapnel. A piece of shrapnel came under his helmet and killed him. And as the shell came through the gun tub next to us, it hit the wall behind us, and it came to, like 2 walls. It came to one wall, and it came to the other wall, and that wall was the wall for our ammunition storage room, and the door was ajar, slightly ajar, and that shell hit that door, and tore off the hinges. Well, that saved our butts, because if that had gone on through there, it would have hit all the ammunition in the ammunition room or ammo room, you know. So I had to hit a piece of it on my arm. I was bleeding a little bit. So they told anybody hurt, go down to the sick bay after everything settled down, you know. I said, I don't know. So a buddy of mine said, don't go down to the sick bay. I said, well, I know what the hell. I said, not that bad. I ain't gonna worry about it. He said, no, don't go down there, because what'll happen, right away they will send your mother and dad that you've been wounded in action. And that'll wear the hell out. So I didn't go down there. The last day overseas, I got kicked off the ship because, well, the war was winding down. They didn't need us aboard ship anymore, so we were in Pearl. So they dropped me off at Pearl, and then from Pearl I came back to Frisco. Now that was the end of the war for me. It was a contributing factor to my growing up much faster. Especially in that course, I was taught a lot of responsibility to take on my own, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, see, I was home on leave one time. I got to come home for 30 days, called R&R, rest and relaxation. So I came home, and I called a girlfriend of mine. I didn't know her that well, and I asked her if she'd want to go out with me. I said, yeah, she said, oh, we'll go out. She went to a little nightclub called Hilltop. So about midnight, we're getting ready to come home, and she said to me, Harold, she said, would you mind if some of my girlfriends run back to town? I said, well, no, you know. Well, there was 4 girls beside her. I knew every one of them but this one girl. I never saw her before in my life. Didn't know who she was. I just didn't know her. So lo and behold, she gets the front seat on the other side of my date. So evidently, we must have talked quite a bit going back to town, because I was at her house the next day. And eventually she became my wife. Yeah. And I didn't know her the first night. The first time I ever saw her. And I knew all the other girls. Yeah. And we've been married for 69 years. Yeah, I was often wondering how my life would have been if the war hadn't happened. If the Germans would have had the resources that we had, they would have won that war, because they were flying the jet plane before we were, different things like that. So that's one of the reasons we were able to keep ourselves supplied. Now that's why the Japanese lost, because Japan was depending on the Allies around them for supplies, and of course that involved a lot of shipping. And as a result, our submarines would kill knock off some of their ships. They couldn't keep them supplied. And that's why they lost the war. Well, they were the contributing factor, because in other words, at that time, the United States had became so strong, we could have whipped the combined world, which we did. You might as well say, Germany, Japan. All the Axis, you might as well say that was the other side of the world. Now you wonder too, why Hitler would think of doing the things that he did against his fellow mankind, you know. Of course, I guess we'll never know. The rest of the world was suffering because of their tyranny. I think if we had a better understanding of each other. I know you think that can have my gripe is, and my complaint is, we kept the black people down. And just think, if we let those people go and let them do things that we could do, you just think how much greater our country would be, because they would have a certain amount of contribution to developing our country. And to me, that was wrong. That was real wrong. Here we was keeping them down. It was costing us money, keeping them down. Let them go. Let them do what they were to. And there's been a lot of black people that don't receive the recognition that they should have, and things that they don't, was a contributing factor of our country being developed. But we were keeping them down. Just like one of the listeners was talking about. He said you can use that as an example of two little boys fighting. And the little white boy, he's fighting a little black boy, and he's using all his energy to keep him down. Let him go. Let him use his energy too. Use it to something more constructive. That's the way I feel.
This school year, I had the honor of making Harold Hoffman's documentary. I remember coming into the school over summer break and reading over a list of which veterans we could make documentaries for. Harold's story stood out to me because I saw that he was part of the Battle of Leyte Gulf. When I first watched his raw interview, I couldn't help but laugh at the funny stories he told. He told so many stories about his friends during the war and some of his fondest memories. He also loved to talk about his wife and his family, which I thought was very sweet. I was very excited to meet him and start working on his story. Although I did not have the chance to meet him in person, I felt so grateful to have been able to listen to his story. I was very excited to hear that his family would be coming to the gala and I would be able to give them the finished documentary in person. I would just like to take the time to say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman, for sharing your story and giving me the honor of making your documentary. You've taught me to value what I have and to see the positive side of things, even if it seems hard sometimes. Thank you for serving our country and continuing to be strong despite being so far away from home. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman, for putting a smile on my face with your jokes and funny stories. I've enjoyed this journey of making your documentary, and I hope to have made you proud.
Could you describe your immediate family growing up?
Well, my dad was a farmer. I was one of the hard hands, so to speak. I enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. I mean, we had 3 farms, which included, we milked 15 cows a day, morning and night, 7 days a week. But my dad got a check every 2 weeks because it was a small cheese plant that bought our milk. So I had 2 brothers and a sister. My 2 brothers and I, we would milk 4 apiece, and my sister got stuck with the other 3.
What did you do while you were at port?
Well, go get together and kind of party every once in a while with my buddies. I know one night we went out to dinner, and this one buddy of ours, he was a big Polish guy. So I forget, we had I don't know, like scrambled, we had a steak dinner, I think it was. So then the waitress come by and said, "Would you care for dessert?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I'll have one. Give me a big dish of spaghetti." Give me a big dish of spaghetti. Then we'd buy a 5th, then we'd go bowling. Did bowling, and then, of course, by the time we came to the 5th, we weren't making too many strikes.
Did you have any leisure time when you were on the ship? Did you get to do anything fun?
Well, yeah, we had different periods. You know, one time we were playing touch football. One time, I don't know if it was on this trip or not, but we were playing football, touch football. So this guy went out for a pass, and I threw it to him, and it went right to we were the flat decks, and of course they had the big doors on the side, you know. And then I threw him this pass, he missed the pass, and went right out to the ocean.
Hey, good throw.
Yeah, different things like that, you know. And like I was telling you a while ago, this one guy, a guy named Elric, he was from Texas. He was funny. We'd have gunnery practice, and what that was, that plane would come by towing a target, and they'd say, "Commence firing." So we'd, you know, boy, everybody cut loose for the guns, you know. "Cease firing." So when they stopped firing, he would jump on his gun mount. He was the gun next to us. He'd jump on his seat and said, "Buy more buds." Yeah, we got 4 kids, 4 rugrats, 2 pair, good poker hand, 2 boys and 2 girls. My oldest daughter, I don't see her too often. She's in Oregon. She's retired now. She's a retired nurse. And my oldest son, he lives in Troy here. He's got his master's in teaching. And my youngest son, he's got a hell of a good job with Boeing. In fact, he's made several trips out to Washington. I know he made 2 trips to Kuwait. And my youngest daughter, she's a nurse. She's got a good job too. She works for St. Anthony's in St. Louis County. And I get to see them pretty often. So I got a good set of kids.